Greetings. Welcome to Game News on PeaceLuvData, brought to you by YouTube. Have you ever been in the debate about which system is better? I mean, it happened with the original PlayStation, it happened with the PlayStation 2, it always happens. So, if you're still having trouble on choosing which system you want to spend $1 million on, I don't think I can help. But without confirming hardware specs on either system, as weird as this already sounds, I'm going to ask you to bear with me here. Most news you see is paid for. Everybody knows this. But if you haven't heard the PS4 is better than the Xbox One, or the Xbox One with all these new amazing upgrades is going to be just as good as the PlayStation 4, any other variants of that coming from one of your friends who's convinced about something, you would expect straight from AMD would be the most accurate analysis you could possibly get from somebody who's actually building all of the processors going into the new console. If not, then from some super nerdy Germans who don't get it when Top Gear tells them that the Stig only knows 2 facts about ducks and they're both wrong. I do not understand. But while Sony is making a conscious effort, not just filling their system full of gimmicks, working with the hardware they've spent all this money on and are trying to get you to spend your money on, they ended up joining probably the nerdiest club on planet Earth, the Heterogeneous System Architecture Foundation, co-founded by AMD themselves, trying to get involved in a club, as I call it. Just getting involved in a club such as the Heterogeneous System Architecture Foundation, which is directly involved in making sure the CPU communicates more efficiently with the graphics processor unit, the GPU. I got you. Now, the CPU is considered to be a smarter processing unit, bear with me, but weak as far as what it's capable of doing by itself. Now, the GPU is considered a very strong processing unit, but it's supposed to be dumber. Biggest problem between you and your crystal clear, lightning fast graphics have been the CPU sending information to your GPU and the latency involved thereof. Say your CPU needs some graphics to be processed much quicker, so it sends them to the GPU. And your GPU ends up sending them back to your CPU to be finely tuned. Both processors store information on your RAM and send it to each other that way. But your GPU was allotted this part of the RAM, and your CPU was allotted everything else. They were never coexistent. So, what happens when your CPU is trying to send information to your GPU is there's a latency. There's a time you have to wait for it to get from one part of your memory stick to the other, then to your CPU. It's hectic. So, up until now, both your CPU and your GPU needed separate dorm rooms to store all their telephone books worth of information. This created a problem when Miss CPU wanted to lug all her telephone books over to Mr. GPU's place, and she just ended up having to carry them back anyway, so she'd be able to work on them later. Needless to say, it took more time than it probably should have had to. Well, Sony is now using memory all in the same apartment unit. It's all the same. The CPU and the GPU are both going to be using the same space of memory, which is very similar to the future PC processing that AMD is planning on using. In other words, the CPU and the GPU are living together now, and things are going smoother than ever. The PlayStation 4 has eliminated that latency problem. Meanwhile, the guys you would expect to be in the nerdiest club on earth aren't. Microsoft is not there. Sony has made up so much ground on calculating algorithms that the future of algorithms, problems we haven't even solved yet, problems we don't even know we're going to have in the future, have already the potential to be solved using the PlayStation 4 architecture. If you're still lost, I will try to wrap this up for you. The Xbox One will have Miss CPU lugging books to Mr. GPU's place and back, while the PlayStation 4 has moved into a utopian future where we have the internet at all times and information is readily available to any part of a unit that is thinking. So what does this say about core management inside of Microsoft? What is holding them back? Sony has taken the time to future-proof their technology to the point of creating utopia, while Microsoft isn't even asking any of these questions at all. They just picked up on the old stuff and ran with it, said it was good enough. I'm thinking Microsoft just uses everybody else's ideas that are already done, and you can't blame me for that. I wanna ask, where's the forward thinking? I'll tell you where the forward thinking is, and it's not there. Something about the structure of Microsoft does not allow for new ideas, doesn't allow for new thinking. We've been struggling for a long time with this. The 3D graphics capability of the Xbox One are heavily outweighed. It's a shame. It's a shame for sure. The question remains, will there be another determining factor for someone to buy the Xbox One? And I'm sure there is. Right? Yeah. This has been Game News. I hope it was informative, maybe putting to rest some of your questions that you and your friends might be asking yourselves. Because I don't know if you know what it's like to spend hundreds of dollars on something and not get your money's worth, but it doesn't sound appealing. It doesn't sound very nice, does it? I will leave that up to you. Another day, Andre out.